Let's go.
It's a me,
Is there a delay on this?
Mario. A little bit. You're fine.
Dang it.
uh,
The jokes are gonna be less funny now.
oh, that's all right. It's okay. I think it's getting better. It was delayed.
Well,
It was delayed at first. It's better now. So
okay.
yeah.
I was going to say it would be funny for me, but for not for everyone else.
Yeah. No,
Yes,
it's
there
great.
still is a delay. I can
Yeah.
tell.
Oh yeah. I got you.
Whatever. Let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's
What is
do
up,
it.
y'all? How y'all doing? We started recording and Tyler's internet crashed, so this is take two.
Yes.
Take two. Um but anyways,
Well, technically, this is take 3.
okay, I started it for like 2
Technically,
seconds
it's
the
take
first
3.
time. Yeah. All right, take 3, I
Yeah, and we
guess.
had to change it up. So,
Yeah. Yeah, at the last second I had a thought and we were like, okay, we're going to go with that. So, anyways, I'm glad to be here to talk to y'all. Uh, some pretty crazy stuff has been happening recently across the world in a European country called
yeah,
Ukraine. Wild, wild stuff.
very sad stuff.
Um, very sad indeed. But we're going to be kind of talking about that. I personally have been very interested in everything that's been happening with it, and have kept up with the news and everything that's going on. So,
Yes.
anyways, I thought it'd be something important and interesting to talk about. So that's what we're gonna do.
Jonah,
Yeah.
before we get into like all of it, have you seen like the memes that'll like uh no, okay, it will relate. It will relate,
Yes.
okay? It will.
Okay.
It's like a meme where it's just like where it was like Biden saying like why do you need like guns and stuff like that? And then it just goes over to like Ukraine just destroyed and
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
Ukraine was like teaching um like their people to like protect themselves almost.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
No.
Well, it was just pretty much saying that if someone would invade or like a government would rise up or something like that, then we could still protect ourselves. Like we we don't just go into it,
Yeah, I
kind of.
got you. Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I got you. No, I when you said memes, my thought was I play Call of Duty with a friend, and he sent me a meme and it was like, "Where are we
Oh
dropping
no.
boys?" And it said Ukraine, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, no, that's
No.
terrible." But yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was I was like, "Oh boy."
Stop that.
Yeah. But yeah, all jokes aside, this is a serious matter. And it is really
Yeah.
sad. Uh, you know, if for some reason you haven't been hiding under or you have been hiding under a rock and you have no idea what's happening, basically Putin, the president of Russia, has decided to invade Ukraine. When Ukraine unprovoked, it was completely unprovoked. Ukraine did nothing to provoke this
Mhm.
invasion, and Putin has uh, several uh, things or lies, I guess, that he's using to justify this invasion. This all started. Uh,
Yeah, like all I've seen is that the
no, you're good.
past, like
Yeah.
way back, and it's just like yeah, like even like the U.S. We've done some stupid stuff to end stuff, and it's just like That was way
Uh-oh.
like come on.
Yeah, it was way back. The yeah, but anyways, this all started on Monday, February 21st,
Yes.
where basically there were these uh groups, I guess, in Ukraine. These groups of people, pro Russian groups that uh were in areas of Ukraine, and they basically kind of were like, yeah, we want to be independent, not really, but basically there were enough people pro-Russians of these groups in Ukraine that Putin was like, I recognize these areas of Ukraine as independent states, and that they should be independent from Ukraine. And he basically used that as justification to move troops into Ukraine. Um, and that's how things started to.
That's
That's just
stupid.
that's how the ball got moving forward. Um, Russia has been on the border of Ukraine, has been building up military for a year, actually, like just building up military
Hmm.
within the last year, and especially within the last month. And basically, yeah, Putin declared those. He recognized those states as independent, which no other country did, except Belarus. Which Belarus is uh, on part of the western border of Russia, and has some nor- northern border of Ukraine. And Belarus and Russia are allies. So basically, whatever Russia wants, Belarus is a part of. And so they kind of are teaming up on this whole Ukraine situation. But anyways, so Putin declares these states independent, wants to move troops in, and he starts doing that. Um, and somehow, this movement of troops was basically sought or thought of as an invasion. It wasn't really considered an invasion at the time, but it certainly felt like one. And um,
It pretty much was.
yeah, it was the start of the invasion. It was not a full on
Yeah.
invasion at that time, but it was the start of the invasion. And so Ukraine did not take lightly to this, and was like, be like, no, you can't do that. Like, that is like absolutely no. And Russia just started moving in troops. And then, because Putin controls everything in Russia, he controls the news, what people see on TV, the internet, what people, what websites people are able to access, and all that. And he pushes out this propaganda, these thoughts, ideas, um, basically saying like Ukraine is the enemy. They are producing Nazis, like neo Nazis, and they want to produce their own nuclear warheads. Like, this is literally what he's saying to the people of Russia. He's saying this stuff, which Ukraine has. There's no evidence substantially whatsoever that any
No.
of that is true. He says that because they are doing these things, and are they are aligning with the Western allies, they pose a threat to us as Russia, and so we are going to go in and demilitarize uh, Ukraine, basically take it over. And so, and I mean, the allies thing. So Ukraine has expressed before, Ukraine is a democracy. It became its own thing after it broke away from the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed
Hmm.
in 91 or 93, one of those two. Um, and Ukraine broke away, and they're their own democratic country. They have a democracy. Um, and anyways, Russia is basically trying to regain power, essentially, is what they're trying to do. And so this is Ukraine has expressed that they want to be a part of NATO, which is an alliance between uh, America, um, Canada, and most European countries. Um, and it has
Mhm.
expressed that it wants to be a part of NATO. However, it is not a part of NATO. NATO is it's made up of all these countries, and basically, if some country were to invade or attack a NATO country, all other countries that are part of NATO would be against that country. So Russia, because Ukraine is not NATO but has expressed that they want to be a part of NATO, Russia doesn't want that to happen, and so they've invaded Ukraine and want to take it so that that can't happen. That's kind of the whole beginning of this stuff. Got anything
Wow,
to?
you've really kept up with all this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've yeah really been paying attention since yeah. I started really getting into it when they talked about when they started sending troops in, like Russia did, and then I kind of looked back just a little bit,
Mm.
um, and then ever since, like literally every like 4 hours or something, I'm checking the news and looking through, scrolling through to see all of the updates of the past 4 hours and what has happened. Like that's how interested I am in this, and I don't know why, I don't know the
Wow.
reason, but I find it interesting. I find it important, and yeah. So, anyways, there's a whole bunch of consequences that have come from this. Well, hold on, I'm gonna put on pause. Tyler, do you have any thoughts at this point to add? Because I'm the information guy, but I just want to
Um,
know if you have any thoughts about
yeah,
yeah.
really, really what I've heard and seen from all of this is that uh, the big thing that Russia wanted to start this was that Ukraine wanted to be a part of NATO, uh, and Russia didn't like that. um, that's really what I've seen, and then how Russia has done their like cyber attacks on all that uh, in response to them wanting to go to NATO and stuff like that. Um, like even at my job, they sent out a email saying, "Hey, all of this is happening because of Russia's like cyber attack stuff. Make sure stuff is okay on your laptops and stuff like that." Uh, and it's crazy to think that what would happen if this would.
Oh, Tyler.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost you for a second. Can you repeat what you said? The question that you asked.
What was the last thing you heard? Okay.
You said what would happen?
Um,
Yeah.
like what would happen? Like what would happen if this would turn into like a World War III type deal?
Yeah. Um, and a lot of people are wondering, would this be World War III? And actually, um, all of this that's happening is very very similar to World War II. So in World War II,
Yes.
Germany um, wanted the so World War II happened because World War I, Germany like was this great power, and then because of World War I, like they destroyed Germany. They destroyed Germany's economy. They destroyed like Germany's like life for the people of Germany. Basically, made Germany a terrible place to live. Which they I don't know that they were trying to do that, but that's what it turned into. Um, and so Hitler was like, I want Germany to be this former great power and great glory that it was back in World War I. And so he rises to power, takes control of the country, and they go and invade Czechoslovakia, and to appease
Mhm.
Hitler, instead of going to war, to appease Hitler instead, everybody's like, okay, you can have Czechoslovakia, but then he'll stop there, right? Like he'll just stop there. But then Blitzkrieg, which is basically like very fast rolling into a country and taking it over very quickly before they have time to react. And that's what happened to Poland. Is after they took over Czechoslovakia, they sent in Blitzkrieg on on Poland, like tanks just rolling in, and within a few days they had Poland, like they had taken it over. Um, and if you're paying attention to what's happening, I mean, this is literally what Russia's doing. Russia or Putin is in power and wants to restore Russia to its former glory and power, and he's going into Ukraine and trying to take it over really, really fast by going to the capital, Kiev, taking that over as sort of like Blitzkrieg. And you know, I don't think the world is just standing by this time and appeasing Putin and just saying he can have Ukraine. The sanctions that we've put on Putin,
Yeah, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
yeah, I mean the sanctions that we've put on Putin and Russia. Um, I can go into more details about those, but the sanctions, and we've also
Yeah,
sent in
yeah.
defense weaponry, and we just got permission to send 350 million more dollars of military aid to Ukraine, which is a lot. Um, so we and a whole bunch of other countries are doing this too. I mean, France, UK, Germany, Australia even has said we're going to supply Ukraine with defensive military stuff because honestly, I mean, almost every
Mhm.
country uh, in the world, to be on, well, not in the world, but of Europe,
A
Australia,
lot of them.
and North America, and even some South America, has condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine in some shape or form. The people that have been the most silent about it are probably China. Like China's very neutral because they are also socialist, which Russia is also socialist, and so they don't want
Mhm.
that to go away. So they're not going to go against Russia, but they also like our economy and China's economy are so interconnected that like they also can't like go against
Yeah.
us, and so they have to stick to a very neutral position um, in order to keep things okay. So there's that. But
Yeah, like, the things we've done to Russia,
yeah,
like, we've cut off a bunch of stuff with them. It's destroying them. Like, their economy's dropping quickly.
yes. And actually today, so the day that we're recording this, so we in the European countries have put on a bunch of sanctions, but today actually, excuse me, oh, I burped there. But we and a whole bunch of other countries have decided to ban Russia from something called SWIFT. And SWIFT is basically this interconnected internationally connected network of banks basically, and us banning, I saw this today, us banning Russia from SWIFT so that their banks like are banned from accessing a lot of the Western world's money. uh
Mhm.
Basically over half of the of the money in reserves in the banks of Russia will be cut off. Like more than half of their money in reserve for their banks is being cut off. And so the hope is that these sanctions are effective, and that cutting off like all this money is going to cause the people of Russia to be mad at Putin and basically revolt and overthrow him. Um, it, but here's the thing. As of today, uh, so it's illegal to protest without the government's permission in Russia. If you protest without the government's permission, you will be arrested. Like you are arrested by the Kremlin, which is their police force. That's what the Kremlin is essentially Russia's police force. But as of today, 6,000 people in Russia have been arrested for anti-war protests. Like they are protesting against the Russian government for going to for invading Ukraine. Like they are against it. Like the Russian people don't want this. They don't understand.
Wow.
Like they don't understand why they're going to Ukraine. Now some of them believe like this information that Putin is putting out about like Ukraine being bad and they're making nuclear warheads and being neo Nazis. Like some people literally believe that because they live in Russia and Russia controls what they see, and so they're kind of just they like just believe what the news is telling them, and it's sad because they don't understand, and so you know what's going to end up happening, but a lot of them do. A lot of them are kind of seeing like this isn't like we don't understand why this is happening. And so the fact that so many people are protesting despite like knowing that they will be arrested is significant because like they they see that this like even this is wrong. Like they see that it's wrong. And so, if enough people realize this, especially with the economic sanctions, that's what the sanctions are for, are so that life will suck basically for the Russians, and they will see that the war is bad, and basically turn against Putin, and then it'll be over. That's the hope. But
Jeez.
yeah, wild stuff. So there has been there's the two biggest cities in Ukraine are Kiev, which is the capital, and Kharkiv. And if I butchered those pronunciations, I'm sorry, but that's how I'm gonna pronounce them. But Kiev is has been undergoing fighting for basically 2 days now. But like these rockets, Russia claimed that these rockets that they're using, these missiles, are supposed to only be attacking military. And yesterday, a civilian building, like a tall, big civilian building, was hit like directly by a missile from Russia, and a lot of people are very upset because Russia said they're only there to demilitarize, so like hurt military, but they have clearly been targeting civilian infrastructure, and a lot of people are very, very, very upset by that. So that's kind of wild.
Hmm.
Um, but basically, I saw today there's some very intense fighting happening right inside Kharkiv, like right in the middle of it. Um, and I think Ukrainians still have control of it as of right now. Um, but that definitely could change. But Kharkiv is more eastern, so it's closer to Russia. Kiev is kind of in the middle, but more north. So close to it's kind of close to the middle between Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. But basically, Russia has been trying to push troops to Kiev and take over Kiev because it's the capital, and they're like, if we get the capital city, like we can pretty much take over the country because um, the government would basically fall apart. Uh, but the basically the people. the Ukrainians have been defending Kiev amazingly well, and Russia has been very surprised, I think, by the defense that Ukrainians have put up. Um, but this was so bad that basically the Ukrainian president said that any men ages 18 to 60 could not leave the country and had to stay and fight. Um, so
Jeez.
yeah, so that's I mean, so they have this is their home. You know, they want to be doing this. They want to be defending their home. While the Russians, on the other hand, Ukraine captured some Russian soldiers, these prisoners of war, and they asked them they talked to them or whatever, and the Russian troops were like, we aren't even clear on what our mission is. Like, we don't even know for sure what we're really doing. And they're like, honestly, they're confused and they're scared. Like, like there was a 19-year-old Russian kid who had just joined the military and was not very well trained, and he was like, like, I'm not even clear on what we're supposed to be doing. Like, you know, it's and that's like, you know, it's weird. I like, they don't even understand exactly why they're fighting, and so I think, even though Russia has the military strength, the soldiers just don't have the same will to fight that the Ukrainians do, because the Ukrainians, they're like, we will die. We
Oh
will
yeah.
die protecting our country, you know? And Russians are like, we're not defending our country. We're just going in and because we were told to, you know? And it's just the mindset, the mentality is completely different, and I think that's actually been a big reason why the Ukrainians have held on as well as they have. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Like I fully intended when this started for Russia to go in and it be done in like a night or two, and it would pretty much be World War II all over again on how that began and stuff like that.
yeah,
That's how I expected it to go.
yeah. Um, so so nobody can send troops directly into Ukraine because doing so would basically be an act of war against Russia. And so far, Russia is not at war with anybody except basically Ukraine. And it's more of an invasion right now than a war, but it's turning into a war. Um, but a lot of people think that if Russia
How
gets
long do you think that will last?
right, if Russia, like, how long do I think that what will last? Like,
How long do you think it'll last until someone puts foot into the ground into Ukraine and actually gets a part in all of it?
uh, I don't think
To war,
I
I
don't think
guess, into
anybody
any
will.
of it.
I don't think anybody will. I honestly think that um, either Ukraine will be able to hold out against Russia or Russia will overtake Ukraine. Like, one of the two is going to happen. Those are the two only things I see. Um, what a lot of
Really,
people, yes,
I
what
honestly don't think I don't think people. I don't think the other like countries will allow Russia to overtake Ukraine. I honestly don't think that's what's going to happen.
well what
I think we will go to war
before what you cut out again. Sorry.
before Russia takes over Ukraine.
Okay. So the thing I disagree just because um we the way that the other countries are set up, they are like that are on the border of Russia, they are NATO and Ukraine is not. And I think what's going to end up happening is because Ukraine is not a part of NATO, nobody's going to go in and declare war against Russia, because that will 100% immediately lead to World War III. However, if Russia does not
Mhm.
stop at Ukraine, if Russia goes into any of those other countries that are on its eastern front or its western front, I'm sorry, which are
Mhm.
Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, and another country, and maybe Moldova, um, which I don't know if Moldova is part of NATO, but if if which if they would do that if they were trying to get back to the same power as they had, the same territory they had as the Soviet Union. If they were trying to do that, then in theory they would go into one of those countries. However, the moment Russia steps a foot into any of those countries, Russia is at war with the entire Western world. And so it's a matter of, do we declare war on Russia by going to Ukraine, or do we wait and see if Russia decides it wants to declare war on the rest of the world for the most part? And so I think,
Exactly. That's one of the main things was just like we don't know what to think right now.
right,
Like I think it's just a whole waiting game to see
yes,
how big this actually gets.
yes. And nobody, nobody wants war right now, except maybe Putin. But all of the Western world does not want war to start. They want the conflict to be as light as possible, and so they won't send troops into Ukraine because if somebody sends troops other than Russia into Ukraine, like one of the NATO countries, then they have basically started World War III, and I don't think any country wants to have the responsibility of starting World War III. Like, you know, so that's why I think they won't send anybody in. Um, but yeah, they'll have to wait and see what happens with Ukraine. Now, the a lot of countries of
Mhm.
NATO, including the U.S. has sent 7,000 troops to NATO allies in Europe just in case Russia decides that they want to invade, like Poland or
Yep.
Latvia or Lithuania or any of those. So we are there protecting our NATO allies, but we are not directly, at least as far as like foot soldiers, um, defending Ukraine, which is sad. But the most that we can do is provide defense systems, lethal weaponry, and money. Yeah, and that's pretty much. I mean, that's what we can give them. Oh, and like aid, like supplies for like medical aid and all that. We can send all that too. But as far as that goes, yeah, we cannot directly interfere, or we have pretty much started war, which sucks. And I think that's why
Yeah.
Russia is like, we can't wait any longer to invade Ukraine, because this has probably been something that has been planned for a very long time. But Russia's like, we can't wait any longer because
Oh
if
yeah.
we do, Ukraine is going to become a part of NATO, and then we can't do anything. So, um, yeah,
Mhm.
that's unfortunate. Uh, but yeah, that's what's going on. It's wild.
Yeah, but do you think that Russia will stop after Ukraine though?
Do I think they
Because
will? I think they will pause,
because
but I
technically they are still kind of surrounded by allies and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't think they're gonna stop, honestly.
I don't think they'll stop, but I think they'll pause. Like, I think they'll take Ukraine, if they do take Ukraine, which I really hope not, but they probably there's a
Hmm.
good chance they still will. Um, if they do, they will pause Um, and because right now the whole world is on edge, and I think what they'll do is they'll kind of let the world calm down maybe a little bit, and then go in again, except this time into Poland or Latvia or Lithuania or something,
Hmm.
and like full on like all out war. Like so, Putin today actually put nuclear systems on high alert, which is wild. I mean, like
Oof.
that is like actually scary. Like he is threat. He has the threat of nuclear weaponry at his use, and so um, it's very it's very nerve wracking for a lot of people right now because um, you know Putin is that's the thing is like I don't there a lot of people believe that we'll never go to nuclear war because the cost is just too high for everybody, for the world. I mean, we're talking about
Hmm.
blowing up the entire world essentially, and
Yeah,
make and
it could. If we go into World War III
yeah,
and Russia's already doing like, hey, we have nukes, we will use these if we have to. If
right,
they use that, we will respond and hit. It'll just be nuke after nuke, and then
right.
everything is going to be
Every
done.
everybody's just gonna nuke each other. Like that's, and so a lot of people are like, like nuclear war is not a likely thing to happen, even if Putin says,
Yeah.
which I mean, that's whether or not you're bluffing. Like the threat of nuking somebody is a serious threat. Like, I mean, you can't
Hmm.
have Putin saying that and not at some in some way take it seriously. Um, and so
Hmm.
yeah, that it's just a wild situation. Um, and so yeah, I just felt like that was something that it's wild and crazy, and that is interesting to discuss. Um, we will definitely be praying for Ukraine, though, praying for the citizens who are scared. Um, they're fleeing the country. They've been displaced. They just don't understand even why. Um, and most of them, I've seen plenty of interviews of them, but just like why is Putin doing this? Like Putin is insane. Like
Hmm.
he's evil. They're saying all these things about him because he's just rolling in and destroying their homes and their lives. I mean, so
Yeah.
we're definitely going to be praying for those people. Um, and yeah, we'll probably if some more wild stuff happens, we might just give you guys a quick update in newer episodes. But as far as this goes, I don't know exactly when you guys will be seeing this, so it might be this information by the time you get it might be out of date. But this is kind of just a spiel on
It will be.
all of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is just important to discuss. I feel like, anyways. But anyways, with that being said, Tyler, do you have any final thoughts? Anything to add? Yes.
I haven't been following this clearly as much as you have.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
but
I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. Yeah.
well, I am too, but it's just like I've only seen what has been on like uh Snapchat stories and stuff
Oh,
like that.
yeah, yeah. I got you. Yep.
Uh, but yeah, it's really nuts and really interesting to think like what this is gonna into in the next like couple weeks or something like that.
Right.
Um, and I'm wondering if the outcome will shock us a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Um, yeah. As far as when we're recording this, nobody knows what's going to happen. Um, we don't have really any control over the situation other than uh, prayers, of course. Absolutely. Um, but other than that, there's not a whole lot that we can do. I have seen there's been rallies across the world in support of Ukraine. People uh, going in cities, just gathering in the masses with Ukrainian colors and Ukrainian flags in support of Ukraine. Uh, it's been
Mhm.
it's been amazing to watch the world come together in support of something like that, despite the issues that have been happening because of Russia. Anyways, with that being said, y'all, we're gonna wrap
Yeah.
up today. Um, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts about all this. If there's something that you want to share with us, that you want us to talk about, whether that has to do with any of what we've talked about today or anything else. I mean, you can give us a whole list of topics, and you know we'll probably talk about it. So, but anyways, with that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at JNT_THIB. And with that being said, we're gonna get out of here. But thank you guys. We appreciate you. Yeah, we're gonna get out of here. So peace out.
Peace.